I'm a writer and I love mysteries, but it's been much less pleasant being thrust into my own real life mystery. When you're part of a posse, as you all are, the posse has your back. Right now, I need the posse. In this departure from our regular interview style episode, I'll be telling you the story of the Bitcoin heist that was perpetrated on me this past August of 2024. I'm asking for your help in uncovering the truth of this matter in the way that only a group of justice minded, truth seeking individuals like the Vegan Posse know how. Thank you for helping me get to the bottom of this real life mystery and figuring out who stole my Bitcoin. As a vegan, do you ever feel like you're living in a parallel universe, aware of things that many others don't even seem to notice, let alone acknowledge? I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse podcast. We talk with vegans from around the globe who, like you, are living lives of integrity and compassion with an eye toward justice. Through their personal stories, you'll come to see that you're not an outlier. In fact, you're part of an entire posse of individuals who aren't just keeping the peace, they're creating it through their food choices and beyond. You won't be saddling up, but you're in for the ride of your life. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse. Today's episode is going to be a little different from our usual. Normally, we talk to vegans from around the globe, but this week it's going to be just one vegan doing the talking, me. On August 2nd, 2024, there was an unauthorized transfer of 1.28 Bitcoin from my Coinbase account. At that time, 1.28 Bitcoin would have been worth just under 80K. As I see it, Bitcoin and veganism have a great deal in common in terms of their emphasis on freedom, autonomy, and personal empowerment. And of course, to me, veganism is fundamentally about truth and justice. So to both those ends, I will be sharing the basic sequence of events as they occurred and have continued to unfold. I don't claim to have definitive answers, but I do have suspicions, and I'm determined to get to the truth insofar as humanly possible. I do not necessarily know which events are relevant and which are not, and I welcome your thoughts and impressions on that point. Please email me at veganposse.email@gmail.com if you have any information, suggestions, or ideas that you think might be useful or relevant, or if you've had an experience similar to mine. In addition, if you are able and would like to donate Bitcoin to me to help me begin to replenish my portfolio and rebuild the investment that I had been planning to hold, or as they say in Bitcoin lingo, hodl, for a long, long time, I will be sharing an address where you can do so. Finally, please share this video with anyone you think might be interested, whether they be attorneys, Bitcoin enthusiasts, vegans, or mystery lovers. I intuitively feel that my only hope of getting to the truth is by talking about this matter to anyone and everyone who will listen. First, a little background. I'm a lawyer by training, and over the years, one of my day jobs has been doing electronic discovery work. In case you're not familiar with the litigation process, there's a stage of litigation called the discovery phase, where each party is entitled to obtain documents and information from the other side. The parties often hire a team of lawyers to review all the documents and other information potentially relevant to the case to determine if there's anything especially helpful or harmful to the case, and to figure out which documents they're obligated to produce to the other side. It's generally not particularly high-paying work by lawyer standards, but it's been a way for me to pay the bills, including funding this podcast, while also allowing me the flexibility to pursue my writing and my grad school coursework in clinical mental health counseling. Typically, companies recruit lawyers for these e-discovery projects through a staffing agency. I've worked with a number of different staffing agencies over the years. Setting the scene, a worldwide Bitcoin conference was scheduled to be held here in Nashville, Tennessee on July 26th and 27th, and I bought a ticket. On July 23rd, 2024, the week before the conference, a legal staffing company called Hire and Esquire reached out to me about a short-term review manager position for an e-discovery project with a company called Bit by Bit, spelled bit-x-bit. I had heard of Hire and Esquire, but I'd never worked with them before. And Hire and Esquire is part of a larger firm called Major, Lindsay, and Africa. Now, I have managed e-discovery projects, but only once or twice, and it had been years since I'd been a review manager. So this offer was unusual in that respect. But the position paid $50 an hour, about double what regular e-discovery work is paying these days. And I said, sure. I filled out some paperwork and was hired very quickly within less than 2 days. On Thursday, July 25th, 2024, I began the position as a legal discovery review manager with Bit by Bit, a digital forensics and legal discovery company. On my first day on the project, I was told that the staffing company had neglected to mention that I was capped at working only 3 hours per day. That obviously meant a big change in my expected income from the project, and it also didn't seem to make much sense in terms of being able to manage a team of people who were working full time. But I thought about it for a few hours and decided, well, it's only for a month, and why not? One other point worth mentioning is that on my first day on the project with Bit by Bit, I asked what remote desktop software they would be using for the project. They told me that they did not use a remote desktop app. That meant that there was no buffer between my personal computer and their systems. And I had never been part of a remote e-discovery project that did not use remote desktop software. On that first day, I had some trouble getting set up on the Microsoft Teams account for Bit by Bit. So they connected me with a tech support company called Ascent Data. A staff member of Ascent remote accessed my computer for almost an hour and a half trying to figure out the Teams issue, which he never quite managed to resolve, but I was able to figure out a workaround by using my browser rather than the Teams app. I was on the line with this tech support rep that whole time. Then on Friday, July 26th and Saturday, July 27th, 2024, I attended the Bitcoin conference here in Nashville. I did not bring my laptop with me to the conference. On Friday, July 26th and Saturday, July 27th, I attended the Bitcoin conference here in Nashville. I did not bring my laptop with me to the conference. On July 27th, I happened to be interviewed by a freelance reporter from Wired magazine named Jessica Klein. I talked to her mostly about what I perceived to be the many common values between Bitcoin and veganism, but her story was mostly about Donald Trump, who was speaking at the conference. I ended up being quoted in an article called "Bitcoin Bros Go Wild for Donald Trump." That article certainly outed me as a Bitcoiner. Now, some of my aim in going to the conference was to learn more about self-custody of Bitcoin. Since I first began acquiring Bitcoin in 2020, I had been purchasing through a well-known exchange called Coinbase, which I'd never had any issues with. Still, it is a third-party exchange, and the whole point of Bitcoin is to have sovereignty over your money and not be required to go through a middleman or financial institution. Still, Coinbase is highly reputable with lots of security measures in place, so I didn't feel any immediate urgency to get my Bitcoin off Coinbase. Around the same time, I'd been noticing some computer issues. My systems were all running very slowly, and I had trouble even accessing my Coinbase accounts. I didn't need to access it really because I wasn't planning on doing anything with my Bitcoin. The week of July 30th, 2024, the conference had ended and I returned to the Bit by Bit project. On Friday, August 2nd, 2024, at 10:34 a.m., I received an email from Coinbase stating that 1.28 Bitcoin had been transferred from my account. I had not transferred any Bitcoin, and I assumed that email must be some sort of phishing scheme. I forwarded the email to Coinbase saying, I think this is some kind of phishing thing, and I did not transfer my Bitcoin. On Monday, August 5th, 2024, I did access my Coinbase account. And at that time, I saw that my Coinbase balance had dropped from over $100,000 to about $15,000. It was only then that I realized, oh boy, that transaction really did go through. I immediately locked my Coinbase account and emailed Coinbase stating that I had not authorized this transaction. I later spoke with a Coinbase rep on the phone and secured my account with new credentials and security measures. I submitted a report to Coinbase via email stating what had happened. Later on August 5th, 2024, around noon, I brought my laptop, which again had been running slow, into Capital City Computers here in Nashville to be checked out. I picked up my computer from the repair shop the next day. The staff told me that they had found malware on my computer. They also advised me of a site called Have I Been Pwned, PWNED, which can identify if an email address has been compromised in a data breach. Through this site, I learned that my email address had been compromised in a data breach at CoinTracker, a service connected to and partnering with Coinbase. Capital City Computers also provided me with a report of the malware found on my computer. That evening, Coinbase sent me the results of their investigation, concluding that the unauthorized activities I had reported were from a particular IP address in Nashville, Tennessee. Coinbase stated, the attacker was able to authenticate your account credentials as well as the 2FA codes generated from your device. This indicates that the unauthorized activity in your account was potentially initiated by a third party who had access to your password, two-step verification security codes, and your email. It appears that you were a victim of a SIM swap phone port attack, and your credentials may have been compromised. During the compromise, they were able to initiate the off-site send. The IP address that Coinbase listed was the IP address at my home in Nashville, Tennessee. On August 7th of 2024, because Coinbase had speculated that a SIM swap had occurred, I reported a suspected SIM swap to my phone carrier, AT&T. I also submitted a report to the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center, known as IC3. On August 8th, 2024, a very nice investigator named Janie from AT&T called me on the telephone. She informed me that there was no evidence of any SIM swap having occurred and that there had been no changes to my SIM since 2021 when I'd gotten a new phone. She told me that had a SIM swap occurred, I would have lost service and been unable to access my phone, neither of which had occurred. This information indicated to me that there had been no SIM swap. On August 8th, 2024, I contacted the Nashville Police Department and filed a report. That same day, I consulted with a colleague named Satoshi Steve. Steve is a longtime Bitcoiner and expert in Bitcoin and blockchain. We sat down on a Zoom call and he traced the transaction from my account using the send address. He determined that the Bitcoin had been sent from my account to multiple addresses on the blockchain, indicating someone with a great deal of technical savvy and expertise. He verified that I had two-factor authentication in place and seemed pretty baffled, stating that he did not see how anyone could have accessed my account without having direct access to my iPhone and my computer. He asked me if my phone or my computer had ever been out of my possession or if anyone had been staying with me. I told him no on both counts. Finally, Steve asked if anyone had remote access to my computer. I told him, yes, in fact, I had begun working on a project with Bit by Bit, a company specializing in data forensics and e-discovery, and that the day that I had started the project, July 25th, 2024, a tech support person had remote accessed my computer for approximately an hour and a half. Steve advised me that in his opinion, this was the only conceivable opportunity someone could have had to breach my Coinbase account and steal my Bitcoin. He pointed out that these companies not only had the opportunity to access my Coinbase credentials, but that given that they specialize in preventing data breaches, they certainly had the capability of perpetrating one. Subsequently, another crypto friend took a look at the blockchain info. He noted that the Bitcoin had been transmitted from my Coinbase account to multiple addresses over at least 3 different exchanges, including the OKX, Gate.io, and Bybit exchanges. Meanwhile, the Bit by Bit project was still ongoing. I didn't want to jump the gun by making unsubstantiated accusations, so I didn't say anything to the people I was working with at Bit by Bit. I just kept working my 3 hours a day while I tried to gather more information. On Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, Coinbase alerted me to a suspicious login attempt from York, Pennsylvania. Now, both Bit by Bit and Ascent Data are based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So this login attempt from Pennsylvania also seemed to point to their potential involvement. Thursday, August 15th, 2024, was my last day on the Bit by Bit project. If I was going to say something directly to the people at Bit by Bit, this was my last chance to do so directly. I emailed Bit by Bit partner Mark Lindsay to ask if he would stay on the line for a few minutes after our final project call to discuss a peripheral matter. He did not respond to that email. A few hours later, we had a final video conference call with the case team. When we wrapped up that call, I again asked Mark Lindsay if he could stay on the line for a few minutes. He did, and I told him about the unauthorized Bitcoin transfer from my Coinbase account. He remained very neutral, did not come on camera, and simply said that they would dig into it, but that any concern would have to go through the tech support company, Ascent Data, since they had been the ones to remote access my computer. On Friday, August 16th, 2024, I spoke over the telephone with Ascent Data president, George Jabra. He was very sympathetic and expressed to me that he would feel the same way that I did in my determination to get to the truth of this matter. However, he told me that they had a complete recording of the remote access call and there had been nothing untoward that had occurred. Of course, a recording would not be able to pick up a malware drop or hack coding. George Jabra emphasized that Ascent Data vets their employees very carefully, but he did add, don't get me wrong, they're not all angels. That weekend, I replayed all of these events over and over again in my head. No matter how many times I thought through it all signs seemed to point to the involvement of Bit by Bit and or Ascent Data, and possibly the staffing agency Hire and Esquire. I recalled that Hire and Esquire was owned by the firm Major Lindsay in Africa. The name Lindsay, spelled Lindsey, was the same as the last name of Bit by Bit partner Mark Lindsay, and I wondered if there was any connection there. I was not able to determine if there was or is such a connection. On Monday, August 19th, I again called George Jabra of Ascent Data. This time, he was quite hostile and would not discuss the matter any further. All the sympathy was gone. He suggested that if I didn't believe them, I could hire an investigator, and I told him that the police were already investigating. I told him that I would follow up with their legal department. At that time, I also reached out to the recruiter from Hire and Esquire to let her know what had happened to my Bitcoin. She was very sympathetic initially, but later told me that it was a criminal matter, meaning that it was out of their hands. On Tuesday, August 20th, I sent the following text message to Mark Lindsay of Bit by Bit and George Jabra of Ascent Data, saying, among other things, to be hired out of nowhere the week before the Bitcoin conference by a company called Bit by Bit to work 3 hours a day, have an hour and a half long remote access session with Ascent, and then the following week to have the unauthorized Bitcoin transaction on an account I'd never had a single issue with in the 4 years prior raises too many red flags to name. I further stated, my only aim here is to be made whole for the 1.28 Bitcoin stolen from my account. Until that happens, I will be pursuing this matter to the full extent of the law. I received no response. I emailed the recruiter from Hire and Esquire to inquire about the specific circumstances of my hiring for the Bit by Bit project. I asked several questions, including if they'd ever worked with Bit by Bit in the past, how they'd gotten my contact information, and if it was typical for a company to request a review manager for only 3 hours per day. I also asked if it was common for a project not to use remote desktop software, such as the Remote Desktop app. On August 21st, 2024, the Hire an Esquire recruiter responded by CCing the company's legal counsel, whose only response was to ask me for the contact information for the police officers working the case. Meanwhile, the Nashville police got back to me and told me that this incident fell within the purview of the U.S. Secret Service and advised me to file a claim with the field office in Nashville. I did that, and an agent was assigned to the case. I spoke with him and provided him all of the information I had. The following week, I also emailed the parties involved in the case, including Bit by Bit, Ascent Data, and Hire an Esquire. Again, stating my suspicions, requesting further information, and expressing my desire to get to the bottom of what had happened to my Bitcoin. The only response that I got was from a law firm representing Bit by Bit, threatening to sue me for defamation if I made statements publicly about these claims. Now, again, I don't claim to know what happened, and I am not accusing anyone or claiming to have proof of how my Coinbase account was breached or who did it. What I do know is that my Bitcoin was stolen, and I'm not okay with that. And I'm not going to simply sit back and do nothing about it. For one, I want to get to the bottom of this mystery, and I also certainly do not want to make it easy on the people who did this. Not to mention, I don't want the same thing to happen to anyone else. Right now, it's clear that the companies involved are simply planning to ignore my claims. And so that's why, again, I bring it to you, the posse. If you have any information that you think might be relevant, or if you have any experience with the companies I've discussed or with the theft of your Bitcoin, please let me know. Again, you can email me at veganposse.email@gmail.com. And if you're able and would like to send me Bitcoin to help me begin to rebuild my savings, not to a Coinbase account, I'll have you know, but to a much more secure address, you can do so by using the address listed below or the QR code that will be appearing at the end of this video. Please also share this video with everyone you know who might be interested. Now, all that said, thank you for listening. They say that a problem shared is a problem halved, and I have now fractionalized my Bitcoin problem by sharing it with all of you. For me, this experience has been a great lesson in asking for help, something I am inherently reluctant to do. I am very thankful for the help I have already received from so many really kind, smart, good people, and I'm asking for your help in whatever way you're able in getting to the bottom of this Bitcoin heist. Quite honestly, I was pretty devastated at the loss of my Bitcoin, but all I can do now is try to get to the bottom of what happened and try to prevent the same thing from happening to someone else. As a writer, I also take some comfort in knowing that I'm definitely getting content for my next novel. While this experience has been highly unpleasant and at times distressing, it's also a great reminder that at the end of the day, money is just money. There are so many things that matter much, much more, including our health, our integrity, and of course, what's happening to non-human animals in our so-called food system at this very moment. So rest assured, the Vegan Posse will continue in its focus on providing camaraderie, solidarity, and support to vegans from around the globe. Thank you for sharing in that journey. You are my posse, and I love you all.